Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Farid Munim, medical consultant in the United Kingdom and author of the book In the Shadow of Tyranny, Memoirs of a Doctor from Saddam's Hell. Today, I will speak about one of the most destructive and senseless wars of the 20th century, Saddam Hussein's reckless war on Iran, which began in 1980 and lasted for 8 long and bloody years. A war that changed the destiny of two nations and left millions of people dead, wounded, or displaced. In February 1979, the Iranian Revolution triumphed, toppling the Shah's regime and bringing Ayatollah Khomeini to power. Iran's once powerful army was thrown into disarray. Many of its senior officers fled the country. Others were executed for loyalty to the Shah. The new revolutionary regime was struggling to rebuild its institutions and assert control. Just a few months later, in July 1979, Saddam Hussein seized full power in Iraq. He eliminated his rivals in a bloody purge and presented himself as the guardian of Arab nationalism and the defender of the Arab world against revolutionary Iran. At that same time, the United States was still reeling from the hostage crisis in Tehran, where American diplomats were seized in the US embassy. Many in Washington quietly viewed Saddam as a useful counterbalance to the new Iranian regime, and this subtle encouragement emboldened him further. Saddam saw an opportunity. Iran appeared weak, divided, and leaderless after its revolution. He believed that a quick strike could bring him victory and regional dominance. On 22nd September 1980, Saddam tore apart the 1975 Algerian Treaty over the Shatt al-Arab waterway, called the Rud Arband in Iran, and ordered a full-scale invasion of Iran. He expected victory in 5 days. Iraqi troops crossed the border, capturing several small towns and advancing towards key strategic points. They seized Khorramshahr after fierce fighting, and Saddam appeared triumphant, but it would not last. Within a year, the Iranians regrouped. The Revolutionary Guards and remnants of the Shah's army reorganized and fought back with determination. By 1982, Iran had recaptured all its occupied cities, including Khorramshahr, in a major turning point. Saddam's illusion of a short, glorious war vanished. What followed was a long, grinding conflict that consumed both nations in a war of attrition, trench by trench, life by life. When he launched the invasion, Saddam demanded full sovereignty over the Shatt al-Arab, the Khuzestan province, and the 3 Gulf islands that Iran had seized from the UAE in 1971. But as the war turned against him, he quietly abandoned all those claims. Now his only goal was survival. The war dragged on for 8 years, bringing unimaginable suffering. Hundreds of thousands were killed, millions were wounded, displaced, or left disabled. In Iraq, almost every family lost a son. Black mourning banners covered the streets, naming soldiers who had fallen in battle. Coffins were carried on the roofs of taxis. Mothers waited endlessly for news of their missing sons. And some widows, left destitute after losing their husbands, were forced into desperate acts, even selling their bodies to feed their children. It was a war that emptied homes, shattered hearts, and destroyed a generation. As his desperation grew, Saddam turned to chemical weapons, supplied by global powers that looked the other way. Iranian soldiers and civilians suffered horrific gas attacks on the front lines and in their towns. The Soviet Union, in addition to providing Iraq with advanced tanks and artillery, also supplied Scud missiles, which allowed Baghdad to strike civilian areas in Tehran, Isfahan, and other major Iranian cities, spreading terror far beyond the battlefield. At the same time, France supplied Iraq with large modern jet fighters, giving Saddam even greater destructive reach. In 1988, Saddam's forces unleashed chemical weapons on the Kurdish town of Halabja, killing thousands of innocent civilians in one of the darkest crimes of modern history, while much of the world remained silent. Saddam was heavily supported by several Arab and Western states. Jordan kept Iraq's vital supply route through Aqaba, its only access to the sea after the Gulf became a war zone. All Iraq's trade and weapons flowed through Aqaba, and in return, Jordan received free oil. This trade flourished the Jordanian economy, even as Iraq's cities bled and starved. Egypt sent weapons and millions of laborers. At least 4 million Egyptians worked in Iraq during the war. Their remittances sent in hard currency nourished and revitalized the Egyptian economy, while Iraq's economy collapsed under the weight of endless conflict. Arab regimes and superpowers all benefited in one way or another, while the Iraqi and Iranian people paid the ultimate price. By 1988, Iraq was exhausted, its streets filled with the echoes of mourning. Iran too was drained after 8 years of blood and sacrifice. Finally, both sides accepted UN Resolution 598. Returning to the same Algerian treaty Saddam had torn apart 8 years earlier. Although the Iranian leadership had once vowed to continue the war until Saddam's overthrow, they could no longer sustain it. The whole world had turned against them. A strict embargo, the tragedies of chemical warfare, the Scud missiles attacks on Iranian cities, and the civilian aircraft that was shot down by an American frigate over the Gulf all forced Ayatollah Khomeini to accept the ceasefire, an act he described as more bitter than drinking poison. Saddam's reckless war on Iran left no victor, only 2 devastated nations and countless broken lives. All these details and much more are described in my book, In the Shadow of Tyranny, Memoirs of a Doctor from Saddam's Hell. I invite you to read it, reflect upon its lessons, and share it with others, so that the suffering of those years is never forgotten, and the memory of what happened may endure as a warning to future generations.